So if you're wondering how the new Redmi Pad 2 compares to its bigger sibling, the Redmi Pad Pro, well, let's talk about it. Pricing is actually pretty similar between the two at just below $300. Depending on which version you get, you can get 128 or 256 gigabytes of storage for both, but the Redmi Pad 2 starts with 4 gigabytes of RAM versus 6 gigabytes for the Redmi Pad Pro. There's also a 6 or 8 gigabyte version available for both tablets. You can also use a micro SD card to expand the storage on both tablets. Probably one of the biggest differences between these two is going to be the screen size. The Redmi Pad 2 has an 11-inch IPS LCD display versus a larger 12.1-inch on the Redmi Pad Pro. Both of these have an IPS LCD display with the same 1600 by 2560 resolution, up to 90 Hz refresh rate on the Redmi Pad 2 versus 120 Hz on the Redmi Pad Pro. I think both of these actually look pretty good in person, but once you put them next to each other, it's pretty obvious how much better the Redmi Pad Pro looks. It's just a little brighter and has better viewing angles. It may also come down to how big of a screen you want, because the Redmi Pad 2 is a little easier to handle, easier to travel with, easier to play games on in my opinion, but it's also nice to have a larger screen when watching movies, TV shows like the Redmi Pad Pro. Now, one area the Redmi Pad 2 has an advantage is when it comes to battery life, lasting 3 hours longer than the Redmi Pad Pro in my typical battery drain test at 9 hours versus only 6 hours for the Redmi Pad Pro at 100% screen brightness. You also get faster 33 watt charging on the Redmi Pad Pro versus 18 watts for the Redmi Pad 2. Now, when it comes to software, both of these are on HyperOS 2, Android 15. You're going to get 2 years of major software updates, 3 years security updates for both of these. So you'll get a little longer software support on the Redmi Pad 2 since it's newer, but still pretty similar considering they're only about a year apart. Unfortunately, you don't get workstation on either of these, but you can get split screen or floating windows to run multiple apps at the same time. They also have something called interconnectivity, where you can interact with other Xiaomi products as well. Other than the size difference, both of these tablets are going to feel very similar when it comes to the software. Now, when it comes to performance, you get a MediaTek Helio G100 Ultra processor in the Redmi Pad 2 versus a Snapdragon 7S Gen 2 in the Redmi Pad Pro. I've got the version with 8 gigabytes of RAM for both tablets, and they both feel pretty smooth overall. But as you can see here, the Redmi Pad Pro is a little better in single and multi-core scores. It also has better GPU performance as well. Both of these are good options for playing games like PUBG Mobile and Asphalt Legends Unite, but if you want the tablet with a little better performance, you'll want to go with the Redmi Pad Pro. Nice thing is you've got a headphone jack on both of these tablets, which is something you're seeing less and less of these days. They also have 2 speakers on each side with Dolby Atmos, and they sound pretty good overall. They're actually so close that it's probably going to be a toss-up on which one has better sound quality and overall loudness, in my opinion. But here's a quick sample of each, just to see if you can hear a difference. When it comes to cameras, you've got a slightly higher resolution 8 megapixel camera on the front of the Redmi Pad Pro versus 5 megapixels on the Redmi Pad 2, and then you've got an 8 megapixel on the back of both tablets. You can also shoot up to 1080p resolution for video recording on both tablets as well. I feel like they're fairly close in camera quality, but here's a quick sample of each just to give you an idea of what to expect. So as you can see, there's a few things that might make some people lean towards the Redmi Pad Pro, like the bigger screen and better screen quality. It's got a little better performance, but then with the Redmi Pad 2, it's got better battery life and it's a little easier to handle, especially if you're traveling. But of course, it's probably going to come down to personal preference on which is the better option. I know I've got some more comparisons that I'm working on and some new stuff on the way as well. So if you like tablets, phones, and other tech, you'll want to keep an eye out for those upcoming videos.
So if you've made it this far into the video, you may want to say thanks by subscribing, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if this video was helpful. This is Brian from Fishbee Productions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.